Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon for our webinar introducing the OCIA Transition to Organic Partnership Program for producers in South Dakota. This program is supported through the United States Department of Agriculture Transition to Organic Partnership Program. TOPP is a program of the USDA Organic Transition Initiative and is administered by the USDA Agricultural Marketing Service National Organic Program. The Transitional Organic Partnership Program in South Dakota, administered by Organic Crop Improvement Association under a cooperative agreement to South Dakota Specialty Producers Association, aims to support farmers in transitioning to organic farming. The program offers education and technical assistance from experienced organic farmers, educators, and consultants. By providing these resources, TOPP helps South Dakota farmers navigate the transition period, promoting sustainable agriculture and increasing the number of certified organic operations in the state. Today, Dr. Angela Jackson is going to introduce the program. Dr. Jackson is SDSPA's Organic Ag Transition Advisor and has extensive experience in both domestic and international organic production, auditing, quality assurance, inspecting, training, and education. In addition to 18 years of hands-on farming experience as a certified organic producer in Clay County, South Dakota, for crops, livestock, and handling. Today, we have 1 hour set aside for this webinar with time for questions at the end. Please use the Q&A feature or the chat if you would like to send in your questions during the presentation, and we will do our best to have them all answered.
Okay, thank you, Morgan. I'm assuming I can take it from here. So yeah, thank you for that introduction. Just again, my name is Angela Jackson. I've been in South Dakota for nearly 25 years now. It's hard to believe, but I didn't spend a lot of time in South Dakota. I spent my early years just learning as much as I could about organic auditing, organic certification, the rules and programs, and then I became an inspector and then an international lead auditor. So I've seen a lot of different systems in my career. So if you have questions about specific systems, that's something that I can help you with, because I've seen a lot of different things. I visited from herb farms to vineyards to mushrooms to just about everything I've seen, even beekeeping operations. So this presentation today, we're just going to be taking a kind of high-level overview of this new program, which I'm really excited to be a part of. As one of the lead consultant and advisor in this program, I'll be able to provide South Dakota producers who are interested in transitioning to organic assistance with that process. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. I have a short slide deck I'm going to share with everyone, and then we'll have opportunity for questions at the end. So as Morgan was sharing with you, this is introducing the OCIA Transition to Organic Partnership Program for producers in South Dakota. So this presentation is going to be largely limited to producers in South Dakota, although I will be acknowledging other partners throughout the Plains region. So this program is part of the Plains Transition to Organic Partnership Program. So there are 6 states that are part of this Plains region. And so we'll be acknowledging some of them as we go through this presentation. Also want to mention that the website where you can find this information is organictransition.org. The Plains Regional Center for Organic Transition is a coalition of partners led by OCIA International, and they provide technical assistance and support for transitioning and existing organic producers throughout the Plains region. So again, this center serves producers in Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Oklahoma. OCIA is located actually not too far away in Lincoln, Nebraska. Just a little bit about the USDA National Organic Program certification, accreditation, and resources. They do or have invested significant funding over a 5-year period through these cooperative agreements with nonprofit organizations like the South Dakota Specialty Producers Association to provide technical assistance and wraparound support completely free, which is amazing because up to this point, for years, producers have been paying consultants to do this kind of work, and even flying them into South Dakota to their farms to spend hours of time with them, which was really costly. And so I was really excited to see this because even myself, I was driving around the state for the last several years, offering free support and advice to organic farmers. And sometimes I was there for an hour, and sometimes I'd be there, all day. And sometimes I'd get a jar of honey at the end of the day. Sometimes I got some nice beef steaks, for doing that work. But now it's awesome because through this program, it pays for experienced consultants to be able to go out and do kind of hands-on both, and I'll talk more about that, both in person as well as remote support. So all in all, the USDA has invested about $300 million in this new organic transition initiative, and they have lots of resources, and they've really pushed a lot of funding into helping producers transition because that's the most challenging and also can be the most cost prohibitive of the process. Some cross-regional partners in this process, I would like to acknowledge. Those are the Organic Farmers Association, Acres USA, and the Rodale Institute. And I belong to the Organic Farmers Association, and I have been for quite a few years, and I thoroughly get a lot out of that. Acres USA offers an amazing conference every year. And of course, Rodale Institute, they've been around for a few decades now, and they provide more extensive technical support on the ground. So it probably be talking more about that in a later webinar. But I wanted to let you know that there are other cross-regional partnerships in South Dakota that can provide a deeper level of technical assistance, and when it comes to like understanding soil types or soil testing and those kinds of things. I do also want to acknowledge all the top partnerships in the Plains region, and that would be the Colorado Department of Agriculture, Compass Natural, Mad Ag, Farms, Learn, Grow, Live, the Midwest Organic Producers, Kansas Civic Network, the Kansas Farmers Union, excuse me, Grain Place Foundation, the Center for Rural Affairs, OCIA International, Nebraska Institute of Agriculture and Natural Resources, and the Nebraska Sustainable Agriculture Society, along with the South Dakota group, which is the Northern Plains Sustainable Ag, South Dakota State University, and South Dakota Specialty Producers Association. So the way that these partnerships work in South Dakota is each of these different entities can offer services to help you in that process of transitioning to organic. What's unique about the South Dakota Specialty Producers Association is that they actually have a technical advisor that can go out on site and be able to, have office hours that you can call and get like actual technical assistance with how to do this, and with the least cost effective and with some success criteria built into them to enable for maybe a more smooth transition in that process from conventional to organic. There's going to be throughout the next year and a half numerous opportunities to engage in field days, webinars, conferences, meet and greets around the state. So we'll be looking for more information coming out on the South Dakota Specialty Producers social media sites, as well as a new webpage that's going to be rolling out. Kind of diving into more specifically in the types of services that's offered under this program. The technical assistance is a point of contact support for farmers and other agriculture stakeholders, offering guidance and advice and support. So South Dakota Specialty Producers Association will coordinate a range of workshops and field days, webinars, and outreach events across the state to provide organic transition-related resources, tools, information, and these wonderful regional connections. Recently, South Dakota Specialty Producers Association has been cultivating this transitioning to organic and organic community in South Dakota through the organic producer chapter that they started, as well as being able to share production methods and resources, tools, and support through this program, as well as the other resources offered through the organic chapter. Strengthening South Dakota's organic and transitioning operators and building those connections are essential for expanding the organic movement, in our state. SPA, through this program, SPA also offers training and professional development opportunities for government and non-government entities and agencies and their staff that are interested in learning more about how to guide and support producers in that organic transition process. If you're looking to expand, into new markets and you're not sure of how to do that or who to contact, we're in the process of also developing a resource guide that's going to be extraordinarily helpful for organic producers. So a part of this, a South Dakota resource guide for organic and transitioning producers is going to be developed. That will be shared, and hopefully that'll be packed full of information for you, so that it will help guide you to local resources first, rather than having to go out of state. So it's very common that folks have contacted me and said, where can I find organic seed in South Dakota? Where can I find, poultry manure or inputs or fertility inputs, or, where are, where can I get access to more information about, soil management and organic practices, and so these kinds of things. And so we're hoping through this resource guide that we'll be able to provide an easier way for transitioning producers and organic producers to be able to get the resources that they need in order to grow their operation. So I wanted to just take a minute to talk about what is organic for those who are watching this and may be thinking about organic, but aren't entirely sure what it encompasses in terms of, what does that process look like? What is organic certification? So the federal definition of organic production and handling, what they define it as, is being able to respond to site-specific conditions by integrating cultural, biological, and mechanical practices that foster the cycling of resources, promote an ecological balance, and conserve biodiversity. Organic is a regulated labeling term for food and other agricultural products that have been produced according to the USDA National Organic Standards. The National Organic Program encompasses a myriad of different things. In addition to the standards, there's an advisory board or group that also provides feedback and input into the development of the standards. But it is a federal program, it is regulated, and the term organic is a controlled, regulated term in the United States. Producers and handlers must meet these standards in order to use the word organic or the USDA organic seal on any food, feed, or fiber product. So in South Dakota, if you're at the farmer's market and you're marketing your carrots as organic carrots, and you have a nice big sign there that says organic carrots, you now must meet the USDA organic standards. Now, we know that there's an allowance for up to a certain percentage of sales that you can sell without having to be certified. But regardless of whether you're certified or not, if you're using the term organic, you must meet the USDA organic standards. The USDA National Organic Program maintains and enforces these organic standards and accredits organic certifying agents. In the state of South Dakota, there's a little over 36 different certifying agents that operate in our state. OCIA International is one of them, located in Lincoln, Nebraska. But this program isn't specific to OCIA International. You can choose any organic certifying agent that's accredited by the USDA National Organic Program to certify your crops or certify your operation. So there's a number of different ones. I'm certified by MOSA. And like I said, there's about 36 others that are operating in our state. So we'll be talking more about that in future webinars about, what's that process of connecting to an organic certifying agent, and at what point in the process should I reach out to an organic certifying agent. These certifiers will come out and inspect your farm. They not only certify individual farms, but they also certify businesses that are in the process of or in the business of handling or processing any type of organic product. So if an entity is handling raw product, they have to be certified. So the whole chain has to be audited from the time that the product enters the field as the seed. From the very beginning, it goes in the ground all the way through to the point that it's being put on the shelf with the organic seal on it. So the whole chain has to be audited. There's recently been additional regulations around brokers and handlers, those who aren't necessarily handling the raw food, but are in the process of either transforming it or maybe making changes to the packaging. But we're going to not so much talk about that today. That will be in future webinars. So what is the role of South Dakota Specialty Producers Association in this program? Well, their role is primarily through providing technical assistance by the Organic Transition Ag Advisor role, which is the role that I'm currently in. And so within that role, I will be providing technical assistance to South Dakota transitioning producers across the state. I'm also able to provide on-site consultations at your farm, remote consultations. So there's office hours set aside. So 6 days out of 7 days, 5 days, 5 days out of the week, I'm available at set hours. Those are posted on the SPA website. But other than Tuesdays and Sundays, I'm available to assist you with calls or questions that you have about the process of transitioning. It can be anything from paperwork all the way to, what would you recommend for, inputs in this situation. And so we're also going to be offering some community building opportunities through field days. There'll either be a field day or a webinar every month to give an opportunity to network with others that are kind of in your peer group. And then there's an opportunity to attend our annual conference, as well as we're planning local connections around the state. So you be able to connect. Maybe those what meetups or whatever that looks like, that we'll have an opportunity to come together as a group to have group discussions and to connect with one another on sharing best practices and maybe even things such as understanding what resources are available across the state, including sharing of equipment and things like that. And lastly, workforce development. So train the trainer opportunities and technical education for those who are working in spaces where they're working directly with producers or ag advisors that are in the field advising producers in this process. So I'm just one person and I only have so many hours in a week. So I'm big on being able to train others to be able to provide advice and support for you in your area of the state, wherever you're located. So there'll be opportunities for that as well. And I want to share a little bit about what organic certification allows. So organic certification allows you as a producer or farm or a processing facility to sell, label, or represent your product as organic. The organic brand provides consumers with choices in the marketplace. And the USDA is the entity that protects consumer options by protecting that organic seal. And any organic operation that violates the USDA organic regulations faces enforcement actions, which can include financial penalties, suspension, or revocation of their organic certificate. So my hope is, with this process in place, that more producers who are not certified will be encouraged to get certified and be able then at the same time use the organic seal in the marketplace. Organic transition is the period in which crops and livestock are managed according to the USDA National Organic Program requirements prior to being granted organic certification. The organic or after the organic transition period is finished, assuming all continued compliance and with all the organic regulations, then a farm can apply for organic certification. But it's not until after that transition period is done and compliance is met and that's verified through an on-farm inspection, that you can apply for organic certification. Let me see something here. Okay, I guess I talk about that. Before you can transition to organic or use products as organic, you do need to stop applying inputs or prohibited fertilizers and pesticides about 3 years prior to transitioning to organic. So I think I have another slide where I talk about that a little bit more. Operations that are eligible for transitioning to organic assistance, and this is just a few. This is not an inclusive list by any means. It's really all types of crop production, livestock production, including beekeeping, handlers and processors, aquaculture, mushrooms, seeds, grapes for wine production. There's a myriad of different things that fall under or are able to be certified for organic certification. So if you're interested in any of these, or you're interested in another type of organic product and you're not sure if it's eligible for certification or not, you can certainly reach out to me and I'll be able to guide you if that's something that can be certified. I remember I was over, I think I must have been in Southeast Asia, and I saw organic crickets. Yeah, they eat a lot of insects over there. And so I thought it was interesting because I was the first time seeing insects being raised for food that was eligible for organic certification. So there's a lot of different things that can be certified organic that may or may not be eligible. We'll talk about inputs in a later webinar. That's a whole different area of process for approval. So we're going to talk just a moment about the organic transition rules. Before you can use land to raise organic products, you have to stop applying those inputs like prohibited fertilizers and pesticides in organic production and handling. So there's a long list of prohibited items in organic production and handling. There's also a list of allowed products in organic production and handling. So to complete your transition to organic, your farm or ranch cannot have used any of these prohibited substances for the last 3 years. And some lands, such as fallow or pasture lands, may be certified more quickly if you can show that at least 3 years have passed since those prohibited substances were last used on the land. That you can do that through a process called a form that I use called a 3-year land use affidavit, which I signed with my neighbor. I worked it out with my neighbor. My neighbor had some land I wanted to lease, and they had not applied anything to that land for the last 3 years. So I was able to then certify that land in the first year, because I was able to show that it had not been sprayed or there had not been any prohibited substances added to that land in the last 3 years. So that may be a situation that allows for kind of fast tracking towards certification. But you do need to have evidence that that land hasn't had those prohibited substances applied for the last 3 years. If you're raising livestock, the land that the livestock are on have to be certified organic before the animals are born, right? So usually with most livestock operations, the land gets certified first, and then the livestock is born on the land. And once the livestock is born on the land, they have to stay on certified organic land in order to remain eligible for certification. And we'll talk more about that in future webinars. The USDA National Organic Program has developed detailed educational guides covering organic practices, certification, and regulations for each type of organic producer. And we'll be sharing this information in a future webinar, as well as on the South Dakota Specialty Producers Association website. And some additional resources to help you in this process. Obviously, the Organic Ag Transition Assistance offered through the Organic Ag Transition Advisor is a great opportunity for technical assistance and being able to get some boots on the ground help in this process. The organictransition.org website, which is managed by the OCIA TOPP partners, you can get information about that and about all the different regions. And they have a number of different resources, including events posted on that website that you can participate in addition to the ones that are offered through this program and in the state of South Dakota. And as I mentioned earlier, the OCIA top cross regional partners such as Rodale, as well as Rodale, Acres USA, and the Organic Farmers Association, they offer also a number of webinars and opportunities to gain additional education. The Organic Transition Guide and the Organic Transition Workbook were created by the Ohio Ecological Food and Farm Association. You can Google those and download those from their website, and those are great resources. Our particular partnership funding did not pay for us to develop organic transition guides or workbooks that are specific to South Dakota. So we are going to be referring folks in South Dakota to some of the other resources that have been developed by other partners across the United States under the TOPP program. And some upcoming events. We have a June 5th webinar that Joyce Ford and myself will be discussing risk management in transitioning to organic. This will be looking at both crops as well as a short conversation on livestock. There'll be more information about transitioning to specific types of livestock operations in future field days. Then the first one coming up on June 21st is going to be looking at organic poultry production and transitioning into that, and what are some of the challenges and and successes, and what does the return on investment look like in that transition to organic poultry production, and again, what are the markets for that, where are the processors and things like that. So if you're able to attend that would be fantastic. Love to see you there. And with that, I'm going to stop talking for a bit. We're about 30 minutes into the presentation, and I'll open it up for questions and answers or comments from those in attendance. If you want to, I think you're able to unmute yourself and ask questions if you want to. Okay.
Last one, I guess. Just looking forward, Angela, to the rest of the program, can you provide the listeners with some of the more specific upcoming topics that we have to look forward to?
Yes, absolutely. Great idea. So yes, we're going to be covering topics that looks at what are some, of the approved. We're going to be talking about approved and prohibited inputs. And inputs is really anything that goes into your crop production, which would be anything from seeds to soil amendments to fertilizers to pest control products, weed control products, all those things that you find in the conventional world that, that you would or may have used in the past. So an example would be I'm looking to plant organic oats, and if you're planting organic oats, you have to use organic seed. Now, there are some parameters which we're going to talk about in future webinars about, well, what if I can't find organic oat seed of this variety? Then what do I do? So those kind of topics will be discussed. We're also going to be looking at several different livestock systems in South Dakota, which I'm really excited about. So we'll be looking at sheep production, transitioning to sheep production, transitioning to cattle production, buffalo production, poultry production. Poultry will probably also cover turkey. We're also going to have an opportunity to talk about beekeeping and what are the requirements for transitioning to organic, if you want to produce organic honey in South Dakota, and what are some of the things to consider with that. In terms of crop production, we're going to be looking at not only grain production, but also specialty crop production, including mushrooms and vineyards or orchard production for fruits and berries and things like that, as well as vegetable production. We'll be looking at organic high tunnel production. What does that look like to transition high tunnels or greenhouses into organic production? And I think that I covered the main ones that we're going to be doing. So yeah, there's lots of different topics that we're going to be covering in future webinars. And if there's one that you're interested in that we haven't covered so far, just reach out to us and let us know, and we would be happy to consider incorporating that into a future educational presentation.
And to speak a little bit to the technical assistance side, if there was a transitioning producer that's listening, can you talk a little bit about what having you do some on-farm technical assistance would look like?
Yeah, great question. So with the technical assistance, it kind of is based on kind of what your needs are, where you are in the process. It can be anything from helping you understand what are the requirements in order to transition to organic based on your unique type of production. It may be a processor who an organic farmer is coming to them saying, hey, I need you to process this for me under certified organic conditions and rules. So helping a processor do that, as well as in addition to that, handlers who are handling any kind of raw product, just helping them understand, what are the rules and regulations around that. I also want to mention that if you're a crop producer, you will, and for most, will need to have, or if you're livestock or any type of producer, you'll need to have what's called an organic system plan. So helping you understand what that is, where to find the templates for developing an organic system plan that's effective. And one of the elements that is really important that I encourage everyone to build into their organic system plan is a risk management plan. What do you do when things don't go as planned? Maybe your neighbor drifts on your crop, or something happens, you accidentally, the neighbor, something accidentally gets put on your property, your crop is now no longer eligible for organic. What does that process look like? And how do you walk through that type of an investigation when you're limited on resources, and how does that work? We're also going to be, I can also help guide you in the organic certifier world. I get a lot of questions. Probably my number one question I get asked from everybody is, who should I certify with? Ooh, that's a loaded question because they're all really good. They all have different price points. So you shop around, but I can help you, maybe guide you into some certain directions. If you're really not sure, but you're looking for somebody who really has a certifier has a lot of experience, let's say in dairy cows, because you want to produce organic milk, I can kind of guide you towards certifiers that I know have certified a lot of dairy operations and have inspectors that are really familiar with dairy. I'll be honest and tell you that there are not a lot of organic inspectors in South Dakota. A lot of them are brought in from out of state. And so that's just a shortage. I'd love to see that increase. I'd love to see at least the number of organic certifiers double in our state, because it is challenging to get inspectors, trained inspectors in our state. I belong to the International Association of Inspectors, and so IOIA's office actually is in Brodus, Montana, not too far from Rapid City. That's where they're kind of based out of, and they're doing a phenomenal job as well, educating folks to come up so we can get not more certifiers, but more inspectors working for certifiers in the state of South Dakota. Do we have any questions in the chat? I think so. Okay. In terms of upcoming resources that SPA is going to be developing and sharing, I'd already mentioned that we're working on a website that's for organic transitioning producers. That's going to have a number of the resources I shared with you in this webinar will be available publicly. I also want to share that we have a Facebook group that you can join, as well as the SPA organic chapter that you can join. And that is open to anybody who's interested in organic agriculture or if you haven't, if you're even, you don't have to be certified to be a part of the organic chapter or the Facebook group or the Google group. If you have interest in learning more, if you'd like to connect with other growers to ask questions or to network or to find additional resources, we certainly encourage you to check out those resources on the SPA website and through their Facebook group, as well as the Google group. So, so how do you connected to those groups? You can email SDSPA. So you know what? I should put up my slide deck. I'm going to share my screen one more time because I want to share that last slide deck, which is how to contact us. So you can go to organictransition.org to get information about us, or you can email us at sdspa.organic@gmail.com, or you can call us at 605-624-1966, and that is a local number to Vermillion, South Dakota.
I did put the email, phone number, as well as the registration links for our upcoming events in the chat. So they're there.
For those who are maybe interested in where do you get copies of the organic program rules, like you're like, hey, I'd like to get a head start on this, I'd like to kind of look at the rules ahead of time, you can go to the USDA AMS, I think it's the Agricultural Marketing Service website, and they will direct you towards the regulations and the codes. It's under a electronic code for federal regulations, or EFR. They'll guide you to that. So you can download, I think you can download a PDF copy of those regulations. Otherwise, we will also be able to direct you with where to find those. And you can probably find those on the organictransition.org website as well. There's a number of different organizations that have compiled the regulations in an easier to digest format, an easier to view format than on the national federal website, which to me is a little difficult to navigate. So just Google them and make sure that you're reviewing and looking at the latest standards. There's been some recent releases, the organic enforcement rules for enforcement of organic. They added a few more different criteria, which we'll be talking about later on in our risk management webinar, where you're looking at, how do I ensure the integrity of the products that I'm buying, such as feed or other types of inputs and seed, are actually organic as they state, right? So in a future webinar, I think the one will be with Joyce Ford, we're going to be talking about some of those things, like how do I know that this product is legit organic and it's not fraudulent? So I encourage you to join us as we talk about risk management in organic production. I think you'll find that that upcoming webinar on June 5th, I think, is that right? Really super. Let me go back. Yeah, that webinar on June 5th. Very, very, very helpful in understanding what are some of the risks in transitioning to organic, and how to understand, what are some of the things I should be concerned about? What are, what does my risk management plan need to look like? Because I think for transitioning producers, that's a great place to start. Because I know myself, I lost my organic certification on portions of my property 2 years in a row due to drift. And it was a huge financial setback. And so I learned very quickly from the first time that happened that I need to have a risk management plan in place, because what's my plan B if something like that were to happen? And what was very difficult for us on our farm is we have the word organic in our brand name, Prairie Sun Organics. So you can't sell non-organic product under a brand labeled Prairie Sun Organic, which we didn't realize that. And so, we're like, okay, we can't sell anything because our brand name has organic in it. Now, if I would have just had Prairie Sun Poultry as a brand name, it would have been different, right? I could have sold non-organic poultry under my brand, and it still probably I would have got some income. But because my entire brand, everything we'd done for the last 10 years had the word organic in it, we were stuck until we got our certification back. So we're going to be talking about some of those things as you're thinking about, all those things as you're thinking about the name of your farm, the name, if you're developing a brand, maybe you want to do organic raspberry puree. What do you need to consider when you make those kinds of decisions? So I hope you're able to join us on June 5th for that webinar with Joyce Ford. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to talk about some of those more difficult questions. Doesn't look like we have any more questions. So Morgan, do you have anything else?
I just have a quick closing statement, and then that will be all. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. I put links in the chat to the upcoming events as well as all the contact information. As you exit the webinar, there's going to be a post survey that comes up on the screen. If you could take a few minutes to respond, it would be greatly appreciated for reporting purposes as well as while we're developing more programming. So thank you all, and hopefully we see you again on June 5th.
Thank you.